All right, welcome to Mimosas in the Morning. Just get my computer set up. Gonna pour ourselves a mimosa and get on with the day. So, let's get Instagram going. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Hey, wave, wave, wave. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, I decided to, since it's really warm outside, be packed and ready to go for the mimosas. Just saying. So, I've got pre-poured OJs into stuff. An ice pack. Important. What's up, Sean? We got our friends all up in here. Hello, 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 welcome. Today's gonna be a really fun episode. We're gonna be talking with Taylor and Pat. Really fun couple, really, really nice individuals and people. They're gonna be talking to us about what it's like to be, which I've experienced as well, and we're gonna have a big old discussion about it. Hey Ben, about what it's like as a couple to be stuck in together in lockdown. It's interesting some of the information that's coming out about honestly, married couples' divorce rates skyrocketing during the lockdown in different countries here in America and abroad, and how there's actually been a lot of self-work done with a lot of people from what I'm reading and experiencing on growing your relationship, how to build it stronger, how to do stuff. So we'll get back into that in a moment. First thing we got to do though is get ready with our mimos. So again, we're going to do another little tutorial. I think I'm just going to keep doing it for a couple weeks, so there's enough information out there on how to properly pop a bottle of bubbly. So again, if you're working in a restaurant or other places, you always want to have the label facing. I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, some twists on here. Make the case nice and light. I pinch my first 2 fingers. Third finger comes around. These 2 stay light. I do quarter twist, and you're done. Kept it the whole time facing you. Keep it nice and easy. When you're pouring it, this is the thing that always gets people, and this is the thing that I loved when it was interesting to learn. So when you're pouring, obviously this is going to change because there's orange juice in the bottom, but you don't want that big frothy head that comes up the entire time. You want to have a slow, consistent, easy pour in the way that the bubbles will release some carbonation, and you're going to get that nice flavor, but look what's going to happen. The bubbles are going to start to reach up, but they won't actually overflow and go in. So this was a fun trick. I will say, for my ex-wife, she went to somm school to become a wine somm, and I basically just sat right outside their classes at the bar and stole a bunch of their knowledge. So cheers to that. Thank you, and cheers to you guys. Happy mimosas in the morning. That is the stuff. So a couple little topics before we take off on our adventure today. I wanted to talk about things that are happening in the world today, or a little world recap, catch up. So turn the volume down there. Again, you can start commenting, putting anything up in the posts, up in the feed here. Computer's officially up now. I can comment and talk to you guys. So I don't know who's all following and paying attention to what's happening in Portland. It's kind of crazy. There's a lot of caveats and things and sassy, catty remarks I could make about things happening, but just on a very basic, increased level. What's up, my man? Welcome. What's happening in Portland is there are federal police there in unmarked vehicles kidnapping and taking civilians and protesters just off the streets out of nowhere. You see the videos coming out of it. The mayor of Portland, Governor Morgan are telling them basically get out of our country, or get out of our city, to the federal officers. It's really weird though. It's really interesting that I find it is a strange dichotomy, a little, I just think it's funny, would be the term that Matt would use, which I love. There's a huge section of people that align themselves on the right that are very, very much so about states' rights, keeping the federal government out of our hair and doing this, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I think there's a lot of issues that necessarily should be dealt with on a state's level. When that state's rights start to intermingle with other states' rights, then it becomes a little weird issue. But I find it very interesting that I'm not hearing anything on any major news sources or other from the right-wing media about this, and about like, hey, you need to you know, we have a Gestapo, we have like a secret police that are out there stealing United States citizens without any due diligence, with no, you know, rights or Miranda laws, just taking them, putting them, and getting them out. Nobody knows where they're at. Nobody knows what's happening. So that's probably something we'll touch on a little later on in here when we start to get a little more tipsy and talking about things that's going on in here. But anyway, I think it's a very interesting thing. If you haven't looked up on it or read on it, check out what's going on in Portland right now. It's a very crazy situation. The Northwest right now is blown up. Whatever was happening with Chaz in Seattle, now it's, you know, going down to Portland, what's going on there. So again, I'm going to invite on our guests. I'm going to give them I'm going to have them introduce themselves a little bit because it'll be more interesting for everybody. But Taylor and Pat are really, really wonderful people. They're fun. I feel like a lot of their interests align. I don't think I could do them enough justice as we go in here. So they're going to be a good guest on today. So everyone hold your rounds of applause, or give them rounds of applause at home. Nobody will hear you, but I'm going to invite them on. Let's see what we got. Perfect. Let's see. Get them invited.
Hey, it worked.
Hey, it worked.
Hey.
Hi.
I got to fix my camera now. How are you doing?
Good.
Wait,
Good.
did we turn ours sideways?
Oh, no, you're good. I just got to there we go. My head gets cut off always when I switch in here. I have that. I try to get that good angle that makes you look like skinny and not like all weird. Yeah.
No.
There we go. That's better. Now I can see you. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So where are you guys at now? Or actually, sorry, I'm jumping ahead like 5 questions because Mimosas is getting to me. Cheers to you guys.
We're buy booze in time for this, so that answers that question. Why we don't have mimosas?
You know, coffee, water, liquid of any type is always good. We're going in. So first and foremost, give me a little introduction. Maybe like tell me a little bit about each of you individually, and then how did you meet? And then we'll go from there.
I'm Tim. I'm an actress and bartender in New York City, currently Pennsylvania. Everything happening. We own 3 cats.
The cats.
Hi, I'm Pat. I'm an actor and unemployed, thanks to everything that's happening. I'm in Pennsylvania, obviously, since I'm sitting next to her. How we met, we both went to college together. She was a year below me in college. And we were both on Masquerade, which is a musical theater club. We were both on their board for a while. I was co-chair.
I was publicity. I don't know how I got that gig. I knew nothing about theater or playbills or graphic design, and then just found myself on that board, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh yeah, neither of us are singers, so I don't know why we were on the musical theater board, but
No, that's exactly why. We were on the board. We were performing.
Yeah. They're like, we need you guys to organize everything and get it going because everything else is happening. Let's give it a little wave welcome. So, let me my camera. So a little going on with you guys too. Like I know Maddie and I have been like all over the place during this pandemic and lockdown for months and months and months. And I know you guys have as well. So you guys were, correct me if I'm wrong, you were in New York for a while. Then you decided you guys were in Pennsylvania for a little bit, staying with your parents, Taylor, and hanging out with that pool, which every day I saw you post on it, I was like, not fair.
it's very mean of me to post during this that I have a pool.
So how has it been for you guys, just like in an overall sense, having to deal with the pandemic and lockdown, just from like a standpoint of like making it happen? Like, how's it been for you?
I guess it's going to sound really weird to say it's been good to great. He had COVID, so he's looking at me like,
I hear you.
Because there was just there's nothing you can do about it. So even when this first started, it was like, all right, so we don't have jobs. Before the unemployment thing happened, I was like, well, I can't pay my student loans. And it just is what it is. Like the bank, there's only so much they can do to a wannabe actress in New York City. There's only so much you can take from and that's just kind of been the way we've been approaching it. Obviously, when he had COVID, it was not great and a little more stressful, but it was the same idea of just kind of taking it day by day and enjoying what we can enjoy.
Yeah. I would say me in the first couple of months, I think everyone's going through the same thing. What is this? We're living through a pandemic that's that's completely new for everyone. And so the first couple of months were a little bit adjustment period, especially living in New York. I mean, you hear like the sirens going by all the time and like you're not leaving your apartment, but you're like, what's happening outside? Like, I don't really want to go outside, but I'm very curious of what the world is going through. And then after a while, it's just like, okay, how do we keep going without normal life being a thing? What is the new normal? What do we do?
Yeah. It's crazy too. I mean, like, it's, oh, here you go. See, Sean James is always on here. Sean's always got the good questions. I don't know if you can see it. So Sean asks, and I always welcome questions from anybody, says, how's the sharing of an NYC apartment going for you guys?
Pretty good. We've always cohabited pretty well, even when, before we moved into the current apartment in December, and before that we were just sharing my bedroom in a 3-bedroom apartment, and we had been subletting out the other bedroom. We didn't even really utilize the living room or the kitchen shared space. No one really went in there, just because it was like, oh, I don't want to like bother anyone else, so we'll just all stay in our rooms. Lived how many months? Like almost a whole year.
Yeah.
In just a like 10 by 12 bedroom with 3 cats in that bedroom alone. Like that was our space.
Well, to be fair, the cats did use the living room. They didn't have any problem with that.
I guess that's fair.
The cats are like, we're gonna go wherever we want. You can't really tell us what to do.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's crazy too, because I know Sean and Ben here that are watching. They have a studio on the Upper East Side that they're sharing together. So Sean, put in your comments, son, on how you and Ben are doing cohabitating your space and going in there. But it's crazy. Like I mean, you guys have a great setup in your apartment too. I mean, where you're at now is pretty sweet setup. How have you guys been, like? Because as Pat, you were saying, like, you know, you had COVID. Taylor, you did not, right? Just making.
I thought. Sorry, I was reading his comment.
I know, me too. So Sean's got the apartment to himself, as he's probably like, you know, super happy, hanging out, chilling. You didn't though, right?
I don't know at this point. I have started to wonder now, looking back on it. So when he got sick, we started keeping a temperature log every day of both of us, and my temperature followed his pretty consistently. So he had a fever for 3 days, and I was like 99, 99.8, 99.2. Next day, didn't have a fever, neither did I. When his fever came back, so did mine.
Hey.
So now I'm wondering if it was just like a weird like mental thing my body did, if it was just sort of responding to the panic, like it gave me a slight fever, or if I actually just had a really light case of it. I have no idea.
That's crazy. Like Maddie did the same thing when I got COVID. Maddie and I the same night got a fever. It was the same. The next day, both had a fever. On the 3rd day, Maddie's actually broke and went down, and mine
Went up.
obviously went way worse. But you guys did you do the antibody test?
We did, and negative.
Crazy. Did they do, because I think Maddie was saying you guys did maybe not the same exact one we did, or how the results they got reported different. But something that was interesting I found is on our antibody test, I was positive, Maddie was negative. But the scale in which they decide what's positive and negative for us was you had to have a 1.01 basically reading on, you know, imaginary parts per whatever. And she had a 0.78 or 0.87. So she wasn't like fully over the line to technically have antibodies, but it showed like residuals of something there. So we always wonder, like, mine was like 2.97 or whatever like that. But we're always wondering, like, maybe there was like just like a scrape of it along there. It's like just a little bit you could like, but not enough to consider to be like maybe safe with antibodies. So I always wonder, like, because you guys followed pretty similar. Pat got sicker, I got sicker, you and Maddie got a little better. If that would be the case at all, maybe it was just like a baby COVID.
That was kind of a suggestion. I don't have a doctor in my life. Like, I don't have a general practitioner that I go to. So one of my high school friends, Erica, is a emergency room nurse in the Bay Area. So she was basically our doctor during all of this. Generally, the I call and I'm like, I have a boo-boo, help me. After this, I'd reached out. I was like, I don't understand how I'm negative. Well, false negatives are a thing, but it's just a good chance that you maybe had it and it wasn't that bad. So you didn't save that many antibodies, and no one really knows what the answer is. So good luck in round 2.
That's funny. I didn't know you were talking to somebody in California. I was doing the same thing. My mom works at a hospital in Southern California, and I was calling her every day. I was like, Mom, I don't got a doctor. I was like, what do I do?
Yep. Between my mom and because he doesn't have a doctor either, and there was no going to the hospital because he got sick that first week, like you did too, and everything was just madness then. So we were trying to do it all at home. So it was just, Erica, what are you giving patients at your hospital? Oh, okay, I'm gonna go find what I can. What's a good version of that that's gonna exist in CVS or Walgreens? They were our doctors for that.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Like that's just like it was. That first week was such a crazy lockdown that it was like trying to get to the doctor, go to urgent care, do anything. It was like 28 days later where everyone's running out trying to like just like zombies grabbing everything they could. I mean, I was totally out of it, and when Maddie and I had to move, and she did the whole thing basically. She fought her way to like some random pharmacy and got like the last bottle of like a 500 count of Tylenol, and like fought somebody for it.
Because Lauren in Texas was basically like, what can I mail you guys? And even my parents were like, should we drive up some Tylenol? Like, we can drive up Tylenol if you guys don't have it there.
It's crazy. Honestly, now we got to start sending stuff down to Taylor. I mean, sorry, to Lauren.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I haven't talked to her. I hope she's good.
I feel bad. You know, she ran out of New York to avoid the epicenter. Now she is the epicenter.
I know. It's not funny, but it's like it's crazy. It's just like we all just played a big old game of flip flop. Like,
yep.
It's like, okay, you guys didn't have it. You made fun of us for having it. Now it's a big flip flop. At least we're hopefully being a little empathetic.
Yeah.
Ish, you know.
I just said to him, Fauci had posted, you know, New York is like a reference. This is the example of how to handle COVID. They did great. Let's use them. And I was like, it's really hard not to send this to some of my hometown friends with like, nana, nana, boo, boo. You were making fun of us.
I know, really, though. It's like, I mean, I don't even want to get, you know, we can all talk about like political stuff for forever. But I mean, like the Governor Kemp in Georgia, just like, it's just, he is such an idiot. It's blowing my mind that you're literally forcing people, cities to rescind their mask policies when they're making it mandatory. He's like, nope, you can't do that. And one of the biggest hotspots, like Atlanta is blowing up, Tennessee's blowing up, Texas, Florida, the entire Bible Belt is just blowing up. And having people that are like, being like, more rights, you know, it's like, there's a difference. It's like, I don't know how to describe it any better. Like, it's just like, it's something that I feel like you guys understand, and so many people understand. It's crazy. But
in New York, we have friends who have such a cavalier response. They're not so much as like, oh, my rights with a mask. It's more just like, whatever. I'll just go do everything normally with a mask and like take unnecessary risk. And I think if you haven't been around someone with COVID and really seen it doesn't hit home yet.
Yeah.
A lot of people need to have some sort of firsthand experience before they.
It's true. It's definitely true. When you've lived through it or been close to it or lost somebody to it, then it becomes real, and everyone else is like, "Meh, I don't see it." It's like people that smoke for a long time and don't like, I don't feel bad, I feel fine, and then eventually one day they're like, "Oh, I feel awful, I should stop," and it's too late at that point.
Yep.
You know. Well, let's get back to our topic of the day, because I could talk about COVID forever, which we kind of will. But so I wanted to talk a little bit about what helps you guys, like your experience being, obviously you've lived together for a while. You guys shared a room in a multiple room apartment, had all this stuff. What are some things you guys find, maybe like 2 or 3 tips and tricks that we could share with people that you find living in close confined quarters, especially during this period of time when you can't go out and do your normal hobbies or do anything else? What keeps you sane? What keeps you connected? Like, do you guys have check-ins? Tell me about that.
This one might sound a little weird, but I would say lower your expectations, just because there's only so much you can do. Like, I feel like there was a lot of pressure on couples to have to, like, we're still gonna have date night and we'll do a big thing and we'll cook and we'll, like, I've seen on Instagram people decorating up an apartment, all these things, trying to make it seem like real life, and the big grand romantic gestures. I would say maybe just don't kind of expect those things. You're both going through a lot, and I think if you both have lower expectations, like, hey, date night's not a thing anymore, it kind of makes we just ordered Chinese takeout and watched become more, but I think it always was to have those like nice dates, but the real world kind of forced couples into doing this very performance factors, and now that COVID is bringing our expectations down and finding like the joy in the little things. That's the best way I was trying to say that. Joy in the little things.
Yeah. No, I hear that. Pat, do you have anything that you find is helping you, or like something you're actively trying to participate or do in?
I mean, I would say in the togetherness aspect, it's I think like have your alone time throughout the day. Like we'll do separate things, work on something, go work on something. But then after a while, it's like, we should check back in with each other. Like, how you doing? Everything okay? Maybe we have good together right now, or maybe we do something together right now. And sit down, half-hour, little moment, we'll work together. Go back to it for a while. So you're not entirely expecting to be together 24 hours a day the entire time that we're together. But we are making sure that when we do have time set aside to be like, no, we need to be together now. Like, together, we have this free time. Actually, something that I feel is, we were talking about this last night. It's actually pretty interesting for COVID is that, we're actors and, bartender used to be bartender. So we used to be busy all the time. Rather, like, we wouldn't really see each other all that much. So it's actually kind of crazy that now we have immense time that we are just constantly get to be together. So it's actually kind of nice in that regard for us that we actually get to spend more time together, not have to be like, okay, how do we plan your schedule and my schedule? Show, I have rehearsal. You have to go to work. Then my job, my shift is night shift where you're working. How do we plan this? It's kind of nice to actually be like, okay, we have no other responsibilities except what we put on ourselves.
Yeah,
so I've enjoyed it for that aspect. So like, back to what I was saying, alone time is important, but also I think checking in with each other and figuring out what to do together. Yeah, you didn't know this before you asked us to come on. You should have checked with us first. We just
not to people.
You're like, this is the most miserable time. It's awful. It's well, that's what, like, I feel the same like with Maddie and I. One of our biggest things that we had, we're always like trying to discuss or figure out is our schedules. Although I guess we kind of made them, but didn't. We didn't work long hours. We worked the exact opposite hours. We never saw each other until the evening. And then by the time we're home in the evening, I'm exhausted from fighting people all day. Exhausted from giving emotional energy and holding space for people in yoga. And then when we get to each other, we're both like, I just want to sit down and do nothing, and this is fine. And it's like, just like you guys said, it's like, one, we have all day, every day now. We're forced to be together all the time. But it's been happy and it's been nice. It's been an enjoyable experience getting to like connect with your partner again and having the opportunity to get that. I feel like maybe there are some couples out there that are realizing that, we only work well in like 30-minute or hour bursts together, and then all of a sudden they're realizing that maybe this isn't the partner for me, which is, I feel like COVID is, kind of shine a light into a dark place in a lot of relationships. But I think that, communication, checking in, like you guys said, like I think Pat said it really well. Maddie and I talked about this with a therapist back in the day, is like, have check-ins. We can do our own things. We're two totally separate individual people. But it's like, I'll walk over and be like, are you doing okay? How are things going? Do you want to do something together? Or do you feel good? No expectations. It's like, no, I want to keep doing my thing. I'm like, me too. I'm going to go play some Xbox, and I'll see you in a while. And this is something I wanted to ask you too. How do you feel, because this has been big. I talked about this with my brother, I think 2 weeks ago. How do you feel like gaming has either helped or hurt your relationship or your time in this lockdown?
I could see how it would hurt other people. However, she's a bigger gamer than she lets on most times. So we're just finding the right game for us to play, and we found Lego.
Best thing for any couple. It's the most fun.
So we do Lego a lot. We did do Overcooked for a little while, and then we backed off a little bit. I should say I backed off a little bit, because if we don't get 3 stars every single time, we have to go back and keep playing that level until we get them.
I heard that though. I'm the same. You got to get it all or nothing.
Well, see, there you go. You guys understand.
We were though, so I can kind of see if someone was never into games, how debilitating this quarantine might be. Because we have games that we both play separately. I've always really enjoyed with anyone I've ever dated. If they're a gamer, I like watching a lot of games that I won't play. So like even when he was playing Red Dead Redemption, it was like really fun to just sit in bed and like, I don't know, scroll Facebook, read a book, look up, and he would include me like, I have to name my horse. What do you want to name my horse? Or what outfit should I wear before I go kill all these people?
That's a very important thing. You have to be dressed appropriately to murder people. It's just
Going to a card game.
But yeah, I would say gaming has really been a staple in our relationship before COVID, and is probably what keeps COVID time so enjoyable for us.
Yeah, especially when I have to go bug hunting in Animal Crossing. Anyone plays Animal Crossing, you know what I'm talking about.
He helps me. When I get bored, I pass my controller to him, and then he'll just keep achieving things for me.
That's your Red Dead and your other games coming into play there.
Yep.
So I'm like the Animal Crossing thing. I have not. I've never had past SNES, Super Nintendo. I haven't had any Nintendo systems at all. Like my younger brother has the what's the new one? The
Switch.
What is it?
Switch.
Yes. So he has that, and it's fun, like playing like Super Smash Brothers and all the things that used to play back in the day that I never played anymore. But Animal Crossing, what I feel like I've seen you like on Animal Crossing, like posting about it more than other people. What's this whole Animal Crossing craze? What is it about? I see people like doing all sorts of stuff on there.
I mean, it's been a thing for a long time. I played it on the GameCube back in high school, and then the DS in college, and that was the next system. And I think they just got released at a perfect time. But it is like a combination of The Sims with Harvest Moon, with, I don't even, basically like a little person and a little village. And this one's set on an island, which I think is helping everyone with the idea of getting away. So you're helping kind of build up a remote island into an actual town, and you have little like people, little animals that live on your village, and they all have very distinct personalities. Limitless. It's supposed to be a game that has no end. There is no way to win, and there are no instructions. So there's always something you can do. And then every month they release something new, either a special event or like this month you're now allowed to go swimming in the ocean. That's a new thing that they developed, and you can go like snorkeling for little seashells and sea life.
I mean, I've heard so many people, like, for example, I don't know if she's watching, Rachel and Maddie's cousins played as well as a family, and it's funny because like they play it differently from what she was telling me, and some of them are like, I super hoard everything and I harvest and I do all this stuff. The other one's like, I spend everything. So they end up like just trading within their family and helping each other out. It's like, hey, I need turnips. Do you have turnips? And I'm gonna give you turnips, and you're gonna give me this, and I'm gonna give you that. And it's a pretty seems like a pretty cool interconnected, like supportive, helpful kind of game.
Yeah, it's great because you can visit friends' islands and stuff like that, and you're encouraged to, because your island starts with one fruit and one flower, and the harvest aspect is trying to get all of the fruit island, and there's actual little bit of science in there. It teaches you about breeding flowers, so like you can get fancy flowers in different colors, but only by breeding them a certain way, and you have to plant them a certain way, which is what I've been focusing on right now. I'm trying to get some green flowers on my island.
I feel like I'm living Animal Crossing right now because she got a bunch of plants of like herbs. So we've got like basil, thyme, rosemary, I don't know, I'm just throwing out some herbs. She's got like 5 or 6 herb plants. So she's like bringing them inside and outside. She's like, oh, I gotta water this one this way, and has to have so much light versus this and that. It's like a real life Animal Crossing.
Basically. And they're actually bringing a vegetable garden to Animal Crossing. It's a big rumor.
I bet you that would be like a huge selling point, especially during the lockdown. People are trying to garden so hardcore. Like, I don't know if you guys have experienced this at all, being in the city. Like, when we were upstate living with Maddie's mom, it was like everyone's trying to plant a garden. Like, everybody's planting a garden. You go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you try to, which I don't go to Home Depot anymore, but Lowe's, they're sold out everything. You can't get anything for gardening anymore. It's like they're just starting to get it back. That and yeast and like flour, because everyone's baking bread and making gardens. It's like,
and the Switch sold out. Our controllers are actually getting stuck, probably because I've played it too much now. really disturbing. It showed you the amount of hours you played a game, and I don't want to say the last time I looked. But now they're getting stuck, so we're trying to buy new ones, and they're sold out, and they have been since April.
That's crazy. I'm finding the same with my Xbox. I got really bad. So Maddie got me the Xbox Elite controller. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it has special paddles on the back. And when I first got it, I was like, I don't know how to play this. This is too many buttons. This is crazy. Now I'm obsessed, and I can't play with anything other than it. And I got hardcore stick drift to the point where it's just everything is always moving. I can never stop it, and it's so annoying. Yep. Especially because all I play is first-person shooters, so it's like
not just gonna shoot everywhere.
Yeah, they had a special event on Apex, which I know we're getting off topic, was snipers and shotguns. I couldn't do anything. It was just like, I see you. Nope.
You might still shotgun part, but the sniper part definitely not.
Yeah, shotgun part, I didn't even look down the sights. I just was shooting up close. I was Frank on It's Always Sunny. I just started shooting.
So I started shooting.
So I started blasting. I just watched that episode the other day. So, okay. Going back to couples and being in here, what questions have gone on before? I feel like I have fun questions for you, but I'm starting to think of things as we're going along that are like kind of off topic, but I think that's just the way this show goes, especially like the more mimosa we get in me.
Yep.
So how do you guys find something for Maddie and I that we've really tried to work on is being okay with, and you've talked about it before, having your own individual and private time and saying like, hey, you know, if I ask my partner, say, hey, do you want to do something, that they don't necessarily feel obligated to say yes. Have you guys had that talk, or have you had, it's just been an understanding between you guys where it's like, hey, you know, I need my private time. How am I phrasing this? Do you guys have very like thoughtful, like specific discussions about this, or is it like kind of an overall thing? Like, I know there's people out there that like feel like I used to feel bad if Maddie would ask me to do something and I would say no, so I would just do it anyway because I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm your partner, I should just do it anyway. And then we've had the talk about it and saying like, hey, it's okay to say no, it's okay to set boundaries in the relationship and do stuff. And that was a very thoughtful, specific conversation that we had. How do you feel like that has been for you guys? Do you just kind of, is it connect and easy, or do you guys have these like weekly, daily, bi-weekly check-ins where you're like, hey, I just want to see how you're doing? I guess that's the end of my question.
I would say I generally announce intentions before I do anything. So like starting the day, I'll be like, all right, I'm going to do this today, and maybe when I get to this part of this project, I'm going to want to take a break. If you join me then, so I like kind of paint a generic picture for how I anticipate spending my time and where maybe I could fit us time in. Or like a just go with the flow kind of person.
Yeah, I'd say I'm less strictly scheduled. But she's been doing a lot of reading during quarantines. Like, but she's really good about like she signs up like what is it, Monday nights?
Sunday, Monday, something like that.
Sunday, Monday. Like, okay, so I have a reading this day and this day at these times. And I'm like, okay, cool. I do poker on Tuesday nights, so that's like the only thing I have set. No, like, okay, that's my time, personal. Like, I'm like, we're not going to schedule anything then. I know you have readings. I forget what times they start, but I usually remember the days. I'm like, you have a reading. What's that? Okay, cool. So we're not doing anything then. I don't think we've ever had like a sit down talk about it. It's more just like an understanding that like as long, same with just going through a day, no actual scheduled things. What I do personally, we kind of understand that of each other. Okay, you're working on this. I'm going to work on this thing over here. And like we'll check on each other.
Do you find that like at any point do you get like random moments where you're like kind of confused if, you know, or like if you, I'm trying to phrase this in a way to help other people too. It's like, do you find like if you want to do something, are you very direct with each other? Do you say like, hey, I really want you to do this with me. I need your attention. It's going to make me feel good if you pay attention to this thing that I'm doing. Does that help you guys being very direct, or is it more like obviously being planned out and or being laid back are two different styles of kind of doing things, right? So do you feel like being direct and saying like Taylor, you said you're setting expectations early in the morning. Hey, this is my day. These are the expectations I'm setting, like you talked about before. And these are the times that I'm kind of free and going in. And Pat, you're like, I'm kind of laid back. Like, you read when you're doing your things. Like, I kind of remember, but remind me, does it go in? Do you find that being like really direct with each other ever, especially being in a pressure cooker, is what I'm trying to kind of focus on, is always together. Being direct, does that ever come off as a time where it's just like, oh my God, can you just like, give me a break? I really don't want to look at the thing you're looking at right now. I think it's stupid. Like, that's just kind of lame. Give me a moment. I'll get to it when I want to get with it.
I think we're generally pretty direct in all aspects of our lives and our relationship. I think one of the great things about us as a couple is we're really good at arguing together. Like, that kind
That's
of
a skill. That's a real skill. Like,
fits. Very, very rarely get to a point of anger. I think we are always very good at approaching each other with like, hey, when you do this, it makes me feel like that. So if you could do it differently next time, or if there's a you're doing it out, and that's like, even that tone is usually how we fight. So I think that going into setting expectations for the day and being in such a small apartment.
I will say, I think I'm usually the more hot-headed one. It's the Irish in me. It's a very small percent of Irish, but that's what it is. And I think even during this, I think it's gotten better because she is direct and she speaks very eloquently and very nice when it comes to how she feels about things, which just made me realize, like, we can have, even like our disagreements, they've gotten less heated. Especially, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we're not burned out from working all day long.
Yeah.
Which is huge. I feel like a lot of those fights come from not necessarily each other. It's outside influences that are pissing us off during the day, and then it gets spilled into the relationship a lot as well.
Kind of circling back around too off of that, when you're talking about like in the real world, when you're trying to schedule dates and you're coming off of work, and this, not having all of those outside pressures has made us be able to be more present during any quote unquote date situation, which I think is what a lot of things more special and takes away the need to be so performative in romantic gestures. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. That's nice. It's that expectation setting. That's that being honest and true and like forward in your conversations with each other. Are there some things that you guys use? It could be totally subconsciously. Maybe you don't even think about you do this, but are there any? Hey, my wife is on. Hello. And I'll give her a wave. Hey, Maddie. Are there anything you guys use and or do in conversations, or if you guys end up finding yourself in a little bit of a tiff or a disagreement, any language you guys use? I know language is really important, and language to communicate with your partner is important to kind of either like, you know, create a, like détente, like make it like a little like easier for each other. I know something Maddie and I have done. We tried to do less of the, well, I think you should do this, you should, and that separation language where it's like, hey, we both know we want to spend time together. How do we come together in that? Is there anything that you guys do that specifically maybe helps, or something you try to do if you ever find yourself in a tiff or a disagreement?
Think of any like language we make.
Not really. I think,
Yeah.
especially like if we're finding like we're button heads, we're not coming to agreements. It doesn't happen much, but when it does happen, I feel like we usually kind of like, okay, you know what, this is not going anywhere. Take a step back, a little time apart, come back together afterwards, and like that little bit of time, most of the time, like for us, me anyway, usually I'm like, what the heck was I? Far too upset for nothing really. It was really something I should have just calmed down on. It was fighting over a stupid hill, a hill that was not worth fighting over.
The only thing I specifically think of during quarantine, like the one tiff we had, was towards the beginning about grocery shopping. You remember we were coming back from the fruit market, you went home to drop it off, I was going to see town, but we weren't like clear about what we were doing and how we were meeting, and it was the outside thing.
That was exactly the situation. I was hot-headed, sorry, again, but I was hot-headed because I was carrying all the groceries and they were heavy, and like she was calling me, I get to the phone in my pocket, and I finally got to it, and people were like, you know, pushing me out of the way, and I'm like, what? And she's like, why are you yelling at me? I'm like, what do you want? Why are you calling me? We just... And I was like, why was I angry? It was stupid. That was not her. That was just me being grumpy about how groceries don't.
Yeah. Like the stress of trying to shop during early quarantine time, trying to figure out how that routine goes.
Yeah. I mean, that's stressful enough in this city going shopping outside of a quarantine sometimes. And so busy and crazy, and then all of a sudden now you're in a pandemic and a quarantine and everybody's fighting for stuff. And I understand that too. I read a book. It was called Conflict Communication. I don't remember the author. I'd have to go back and look at it. But he wrote Meditations on Violence as well. But he's talking about how a lot of our fights and disagreements aren't necessarily even about what is necessarily transpiring in between the two individuals. It's outside influences, other stressors and factors. But again, as well, like the adrenaline factor of, you know, Pat, you're out, you're getting groceries, you're using your muscles, you're being pushed around by people, things are crazy happening, so your body's on high alert. Then all of a sudden something outside comes in and experiences that high alert factor, which can be, you know, seen as, you know, aggressive and or put off, and then it just builds up over time. But I think that's a great thing, like having that conversation, or either having the how do you say it, the awareness to say, hey, I'm a little hot-headed right now. We're going to take a step back. I'm going to let this adrenaline dump, these like chemicals and feelings in my body that are getting me all heated, let them die down. And let's come back to this when we're both at an emotional, you know, valley where we can talk about this intellectually versus emotionally, which is, I think is a great thing. That's really good that you guys can do that. And I feel like there are a lot of couples that can't do that. They get stuck in it and they want the now. They want, like, I'm pissed, I want an answer now. And it's like, it's not necessarily the best thing all the time.
I'll give her the credit for this. Again, she's much more calm than I am. I think it's her calmness that I've been around for so long where I have to, like, okay, this is a better way to be.
Which is funny because you say the now, and that I think was the biggest struggle early on for us, is that I have a lot of anxiety if conflict is not resolved immediately. Like, I'm not the kind of person that we're going to get in a fight, run away and slam the door and come back an hour later. Vice versa, we get in a fight, he leaves, slams the door. My mind immediately is like, oh my God, it's over. It's unfixable because he walked away from it. You don't walk away unless it's broken. And so I think dating has kind of brought me down to, like, understanding, okay, you're someone who needs to take your anger, go away, and let it cool off, versus I'm someone who's like, I'm angry, I want to talk it out, I want to fix it now. So I would say, even with, like, the little things that, like, living with each other, the cleaning, or who left the milk out kind of dumb fights.
Who left the light on?
Who left the light on?
I mean, if you're leaving the milk out, it's one of those things, I'm like.
Which has never actually happened, but I don't know why that was the first, like, example in my head.
I feel like milk and eggs and sugar are those things when you think about home stuff. Those are what always comes to mind first. Where's the sugar at? Where do the eggs go? Who left the milk out? And it's like, nobody has a milkman anymore. Nobody leaves the milk out. No.
Grace.
No, but I think that's a smart, thorough example, or like a really good example of saying, like, hey, two different individuals who have decided to come to a relationship together, and you're bringing your own outside influences and your ideologies and your mental, where you guys are mentally together, and, you know, Pat is bringing you to a place that's like, hey, even though we fight, there's no way it's over. I'm still here. And then you're getting to a place to bring him. It's like, hey, we can communicate and, like, really talk through and calm this down and bring that. I feel like Maddie has taught me a lot about that I think, you know, I've helped her have the space to walk away when normally she would want to say, hey, I'm communicating, we're doing this now. And she's given me the space to say, hey, you know, even if we do walk away, it's definitely not done. And that, well, I mean, obviously we're married, so we're, there's no just walking away at this point. So, but it's, I think it's a very good example of, like, you're right. It's two different individuals. And I think people lose this in relationships. I don't know how you feel about this, but people think that as soon as your relationship, it's like, now you're one person. And it's like, that's the joke. And some people do that where they're very codependent. But again, especially in this lockdown, you guys have realized, and I think I've realized, Maddie's realized, a lot of couples have realized, we're still individuals. And normally during our days, we go off and do our own individual things, and then we can come together and do something. But now it's like, if you're together all the time, you have to be honest with each other to say, hey, we're individuals. I want to play a game, or I want to read. I got poker night. I got this. And we're not offended by that because we understand and realize now at the end of the day, you're still coming together and you're still communing as a couple and two individuals that have decided to join a relationship together and work together.
Yeah.
That's a good way to say it. So I got a question too, because I wanted to ask Pat this as well. I started talking about this before going on. Have you looked at all? And I'll get back into the political stuff because it's just all stuff that's going on. Have you watched at all what's happening in Portland and what's going on there?
Yep.
What are your thoughts on it?
I think that if you think it's okay and that it's something that you're completely okay with having happen, then you don't get it. And you're not prepared for when it's going to happen to you. Not saying it's going to happen to you, but if it's happening there, who knows? That's the thing. It's like, I think it's kind of ridiculous that, I mean, we're not supposed to get political, but forget it.
We got 14 minutes left, so like this last 14 minutes, or like at least 10 of them, let's just like jump on in and go crazy.
One of my friends yesterday, he's like, hey, look, if you want to arrest dissidents who are being violent or people who are destroying private property, there are plenty of laws out there for you to do that legally. But when you're sending in police in unmarked cars with no kind of nothing to signify that they are police or what department they are, that is a step towards fascism. That totally is. I'm sorry, that is it. That's what that is entirely. And to be honest with you, they're doing it in Portland. Let's see them do it in some place that actually has a high gun ownership rate, because if someone busts out of a van with a bunch of army stuff on and is going to start to throw me in the van, I'm not going to just go. I don't know who you are. Who are you? You've not announced yourself as anything. That's insane to me. That's crazy. And like I hate using the term Nazi because everyone uses the term Nazi for everything, which is like Nazis were very specific.
Watering down the effect
they
of
were
that
very
too.
specific.
Yeah, agreed.
But did that happen in Nazi Germany? Absolutely. That's entirely. It wasn't like, oh, yeah, everyone likes to, I shouldn't say everyone. Everyone's always on the board of like, well, they did it to the Jewish people. It's like they didn't just do it to Jewish people. They did it to people who were political dissidents, people who were questioning what is going on. That's an American right. That's your freedom. You are supposed to be questioning what's going on. It's written. It's in the Constitution to be questioning what's going on. That is actually what being a good patriot is questioning your government.
Yeah.
Making sure that things are okay. So if you're not doing that, you're not being a good patriot.
Yeah.
Should be concerned about the government.
It's just so true. All of like specifically what you're saying is like this country is founded on a group of people who were like, yeah, we don't think what you're doing is right. We're gonna go start our own thing. We're gonna make sure and do it the right way. We're literally saying, the government that we're under is totally fucking up and giving us everything. You talk about George Washington, all these founding fathers that everybody really like jumps into, which is like, yes, I understand nobody is perfect. There's a lot of bad, founding fathers. They did crazy. Yeah, a lot of them owned slaves. A lot of them did really bad stuff. At the same time, they were founding this country, which we understand. But at the same time, again, I've been finding it difficult to say, like, hey, being connected to the military, somebody that works for law enforcement, somebody that my specific job is in hand-to-hand combat and weapons and doing stuff like that, and being a progressive and something I kind of find that I'm being more towards, which I think we're probably the same on this, Pat, is like, I would always say I'm a social democrat or democratic socialist, and now I feel like I'm a little more of a libertarian socialist or socialist libertarian kind of. It's like I didn't realize that was a thing, and then I started like getting into it more.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a little more where I lie. But at the same time, it's interesting. It's like I think the biggest thing a real patriot, and it pisses me off all the time that my initial reaction now is I see dudes in big trucks with the American flag flying in the back of their truck, that it makes me angry, because it's like, I know you voted for Trump, and I know that you're like some racist asshole, like 99% of the time, maybe not 100%, but most of the time. And it makes me really angry that it's like you've usurped America, and that's not fair. You can't take that, because as a patriot, what you should be doing is saying, hey, this isn't right. I want all Americans to be okay. I should look at my government and say, I want better for you. And I feel like that's what you're saying. And it's crazy that I think people are so complicit now, especially when the hardcore right line is like, you can't tell me what to do. There's a swamp and there's a deep state. I'm not going to trust the government. But at the same time, it's like, well, you should have complied with their orders so they wouldn't have shot you. It's like,
That's the entirety of it, man. It's insane. The amount of people who are like, I'm keeping my guns and I'm going to stop the government from ever doing anything that is going to make my guns go away or attack my freedoms. It's like, it's happening right now. There are people with their freedoms that are supposed to be arrested, processed, and given due process. It's not happening. And all of a sudden you're like, well, if they just complied, well, if they weren't protesters, it's those Antifa. That's who's getting arrested. So it doesn't matter because it's Antifa. It's like, Antifa? Are you kidding? Let's start a war on terrorism again. Let's keep doing the war on terrorism because everyone finds themselves as a terrorist. Someone walks in the room and goes, hi, I'm Antifa. Yeah. What are you talking about?
I mean, the whole Antifa argument, I think, is so just ridiculous. Antifa is literally just, I'm anti-fascist. So if you're not fascist, you're Antifa. And it's just like,
I'm hoping.
I think most people are Antifa. Like,
I don't know anymore.
Like, I don't know any fascists. Like, personally, I don't believe I do. It's insane. The whole thing is so crazy. I mean, I hear you in the that people want to fight and they want to have their rights, they want to have their freedom to do whatever, and then they just lie and roll over about whatever issue it is of the day that fits their narrative, you know?
Yeah, they're changing government to fit their ideas. So it's not that I want to fight for freedom, I want to fight for my freedom only, even if that means you don't get it.
Yeah. Sort
of their idea of America, which I guess, to be fair, looking what the founding fathers did, they did kind of only fight for certain freedoms and not others. Yeah. But it's not that time anymore. It's the future. We need to build the future. We need to constantly be getting better, like the founding fathers said, to keep making amendments and keep updating things.
Well, that's the part that I keep saying all people. A lot of people don't realize that the founding fathers, they were the first ones to be like, hey, look, we're going to screw this up. We know we're going to screw this up. We know the future government that we leave behind us is going to screw this up. That's why specifically we are telling you now, if your government's screwing up, call them out and stop them. You should have the power. We're trying to do something. We're not trying to have a king anymore. We're trying to give you more freedom and more right to control your own. You got to actually defend it, though. That's up to you.
Yeah. It's crazy that you see slow and tiny degradations of our Constitution, of our freedom, of things that are happening in America. And you look at, like, these different sections and points in time where it's like, okay, this little chip has been taken out. This little chip. Enough that you don't really notice over time. And then all of a sudden, you go from, 1850 to, 2020, and you realize, oh my God, like, things like the Patriot Act, things like all of the wars that we've been in that mean nothing, the amount of lobbyists that can happen, that corporations can be basically lobbyist people, that you can, and these things that happen under the radar that you don't realize. I don't remember if you guys remember the story of, there was a Republican guy, I believe he was out of Maryland. He died. He worked for the Republican Party, but he was a big proponent of, like, gerrymandering and stuff like that. But his daughter got onto his computer after he passed and downloaded all of his files and looked into it and found, from the Reagan era on, when he was in, this huge, like, 30-year plan about how to gerrymander and how to create voter disenfranchisement.
Franchisement.
Thank you. And an actual literal written document for the Republican Party on how to say, hey, we're going to lose elections. This is all we're going to do. We need to focus on the electorate, and we need to focus on gerrymandering our districts and taking voting out of the hands of BIPOC, out of the hands of lower income people, of, middle America, and all these other places that are going in. It's interesting to see this time that our freedoms are slowly and surely being just chipped away at.
I think a lot of it has to do with the whole versus you situation that the government wants. So, like, you see that, all these election polling stations are being shut down. There's only one available for over 600,000 people.
Kentucky, crazy that's happening.
A lot of people online who were like, well, that they're all on welfare anyway, so, like, they shouldn't really vote anyway. Those are still United States citizens. They have a right to vote. It is their right, just like it's your right. Don't defend their right. Then why should anyone defend yours?
Yeah. I think the community aspect of saying, hey, I'm an American. you guys are Americans. There are a lot of Americans out here, people that want to be in this country or people that are here. Even if you don't want to be here, you're still an American. I'm going to fight for your right to vote, to have the basic freedoms that everyone has, because you need to have a say in how your life is going to be formed and shaped in this country. It's an interesting topic of discussion. Maybe we'll have another. We have 4 minutes left. Have another day where you and I can go down. You know what we should do? We should have a day where we just do like down the deep hole conspiracy theory, crazy. Like that would be fun. Like a Joe Rogan. Like I'm in Colorado right now. Maybe we'll get like a little high, just like talk about weird, crazy, all this stuff. But I have actually. So for both of you guys, last 4 minutes, I do like a rapid fire round on the show, and okay. I got questions for you. So I don't know if you guys want to decide who goes first, who goes second, whatever. I feel like you guys probably just already feel it. You're good. But it's mostly like favorite stuff. I like that. So I want to know, I'm going to tell our viewers out there so we can like figure out new stuff going in. Favorite movie?
My Sassy Girl.
My Sassy Girl. Oh, there you go.
I bought her that movie after I realized it was a favorite movie. Boondock Saints.
Boondock Saints. You know, I actually need to see Boondock Saints. I saw like little bits of it, but I've never seen the whole thing, and I feel like I would really resonate and like it.
Not a great movie. It's just my favorite movie. That's all I'm saying.
Same with my dad.
I try and see whatever movies or things people recommend that go on here, because I need to expand my horizon more than just Die Hard and Fifth Element. So that's pretty much it. Okay, favorite musical and or play?
Oh God. You think of something? Say it, because I'm drawing a blank.
Musical or play? Oh man, I know we're actors. That's why it sounds like we're bad at it. But it's
I know
so
there's too
many choices.
I find it's harder for actors because there's so many options versus like I only know this one. This is my favorite. You know, it's like
I really like as a play. I like Lieutenant of Inishmore. The Martin McDonough play. Martin McDonough is a really dark comedian writer, and like it's funny, but it's like I always like it too because I do stage combat, and you have to shoot 3 people in the head on stage, not on stage. You have to shoot a cat on stage, and I'm always like, how do you do this? How do you make this real without actually shooting a cat on stage?
Yeah, the cat has that's a hard point there. Like, how do you get the cat to act like they're dead? Like,
one of my favorite things too about it is that every last line of a play changes depending on what that cat does, because the cat either has to eat cereal or it doesn't eat cereal, and you either go, oh, he always loved Trix, or I forget what that cereal was. You're like, oh, he actually always hated that.
Excuse him.
That's funny. That's good. Hi, Taylor. What's yours?
The Shadow Box by Michael Christopher.
Okay, there you go. So Lieutenant of Ishmore and The Shadow Box by Michael Christopher.
Yep.
All right, cool. What's your favorite food? Could be a dish, it could be a style, could be whatever.
Just all ice cream.
Ice cream all the time. This is why Maddie and you are really good friends. It's like literally just ice cream all the time. It's the best.
You know what? I don't know. I love food, so I have a hard time picking a favorite food. But since moving into the food I crave the most, I think, is halal. Like good halal.
Oh, dude, street meat? Yes. Oh, so good.
Find the one truck that's like, you're the one, baby. You're the one who has it. You're cheap.
There's always that one that's the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the Halal Brothers are really good. I like the Halal Brothers. They have a pretty good stuff. We have 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining. Rapid fire. Favorite artist? Could be, I'm speaking specifically musically.
Oh, Tracy Chapman.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite is fucking Molly, but I like other artists too.
Hey, you like a lot of just that one. So here's last question. We're going in. We're in a lockdown. We're in a quarantine. Still, all this stuff is happening. If you had money was not an issue, you can go anywhere you wanted when this is done. Favorite or best vacation place that you can go, and anything in infinite money. 43 seconds. Go.
Malta.
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 Yeah, that'd be beautiful.
Yep.
I was gonna say Japan because I thought that's where she wanted to go, and I was like, okay, I can go. To Japan.
Well, where do you want to go?
Where do I want to go? I want to go back to Ireland. I always want to be in Ireland. I went there once and I never wanted to come back, and here I am. I'll be there.
Oh, both beautiful places. Honestly, Malta, Ireland, definitely on my list to go. Maybe we can do like a big couples trip and we'll like hit all sorts of shit and go all over the place. I'd be
Yeah.
down with that.
On our
So,
passport.
7 seconds remaining. Thank you so much, guys, for joining the show, and we will see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.